Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting. Please be seated. Right, again, good evening everyone. Thank you for coming to this, what is the last meeting of the municipal year. The first item on the agenda is the evacuation procedure. We're not expecting the fire alarms to go off, so if they do, we'll treat them as real. And if we can use the emergency exits to leave the building and lead across the road outside the Lloyd's Bank. It's also a good time just to remind people to have your phones turned off or on silent, please. Thank you. Item 2 is to receive apologies. I have had notice of apologies from councillors Gutteridge, Pandare and Collett. Councillor Watkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies for Councillor Bolton.
Thank you. Any others? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also from Councillors Candora and Arson.
Thank you. Right, we're all done with apologies, yeah? Item number 3 is to confirm the minutes of the meeting on the 19th of February. Are you happy that I sign those with a true and correct record? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Item 4 are declarations of interest, and as they're printed, unless there's anything changed since. No? Okay, thank you. Item 5 are announcements. I don't have an announcement as such. I just want to say a big thank you to everybody for this year that I've been the chair of this council as Cyril and Mayor. I think by and large we've had good meetings. Everybody's pretty well behaved, except for the occasional hiccup. But I never mentioned any names. But anyway, thank you very much for that year and making it what it was. Councillor Watkins.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In front of you, you'll see the award for the gold award for the Armed Forces Covenant, which I had great pleasure of going to pick up again this year with Councillor Steve A. This is the second time I picked up the gold award, because the last time I picked it up was in 2019. So we first received the award in 2019, the gold award in 2019, after receiving silver and bronze in 2017 and 2018 respectively. The award is only given to organisations that can pledge to demonstrate or advocate ongoing support to defence and the Armed Forces community, and align their values with the Armed Forces Covenant. Work includes advertising job roles with careers, transition partnerships and forces families and jobs, advocating for the armed forces in the community, advocating for organisations in the borough to sign up to the Armed Forces Covenant, ensuring that our HR policies support cadet force, adult volunteers, reserve troops and military families, offering mentoring opportunities to cadets, and offering training to all staff about the role of the Armed Forces Covenant. So it was a great place to pick this up again, and it shows that we want to do something like this for that, and I'm sure we can continue to do that. So, thank you.
Thank you. If people don't mind me just saying on the back of that, all of our residents acknowledge the links that we have with the armed forces, and historically we've had really strong links with Gentock Barracks at Frankfurt. Unfortunately, I think it was probably one of those things due to COVID and that kind of fell away a little bit. But something myself and the Mayor have managed to do this year is really do a lot of work with them and really establish those links. And so, you know, we're really pleased at that and looking forward to some of the events that particularly about the Day. So, thank you. That takes us on to questions by members. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Keith will tell me off. It's not, it's public participation, and we have one question or a statement from Mr. Sonderburg.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Do I need a microphone?
Probably not.
Probably not. It makes me so angry to see more shops closing in the Newton Town Centre. The size of the market reducing and so many venues struggling. Much of this is due to national and global factors, but both the Borough Council and County Councils have not helped with their having to break eggs to make an omelette regeneration project plans. I'm very disappointed the Newton Business Improvement District has had such a slow start. Businesses can't afford to pay more taxes and not get significantly increased business in return. We need to make this work effectively or close it quickly. The Bridge to Living and Abbey Street projects have made matters worse locally by evicting traders and taking much of the car parking on the west end of town out of use. Now at great expense, parts of the Abbey Street car park will be rebuilt on the existing site but at a slightly higher level. It will not, however, be that convenient if it's not connected directly to Queen's Road via the southwest and southeast corners. NBBC planners claim this is not possible when it is clear that half the footpath through the old arch on the southwest corner still exists. The planning officers emailed me this comment when I tried to get the matter raised via a petition. In relation to the comments made in your petition, the comments made are factually incorrect. There is a pedestrian access from Queen's Road from the southern temporary car park. A direct southwest pedestrian route was not possible due to existing site constraints and level changes. Instead, a safe, accessible route is provided via the northwest corner leading to the central plaza connecting directly to Queen's Road. When phase 3 of the development is complete, there will be a more direct link from the ground floor of the multi-storey car park to the plaza via the north of the leisure, another route via the north of the leisure box. This enables proper integration, broader regeneration scheme, and ultimately delivers better pedestrian connectivity. The planners were expecting people to walk round 3 sides of a rectangle to head southwest to places like the Crew. We know that even where paths do not exist, people will just walk down grass slopes, over verges and through hedges, when it cuts out extended walks around 3 sides of a rectangle. It'd be nice if this council got something right in the first place. At the second attempt, the petition direct access from Queen's Road to the new Abbey Street South car park has been accepted under number EP 6977469002. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor King, do you wish to reply? No? Thank you. Which does then take us on to questions by members. And the first one is from Councillor Phillips.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to ask Councillor Clark to bring an update on the VE Day celebrations, please. Oh, King.
Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Bert. So VE Day was always going to be a celebration in the Neaton and Bedworth town centres. Plans were put into place, have been put into place from last year. So here is the schedule. 8:30, Riversley Park War Memorial, where a wreath will be laid with a small service. 9 o'clock, Nuneaton Town Centre at Nuneaton Hall steps, raising the VE flag with the town crier. 9:30, Bedworth Town Centre, where the 30 Signal Regiment and Queen's Gurkha signals will march through the town centre, making their way to the Peace Podium to welcome the regiment. At 10:10, road closures will also be put in place 9:30 till 12 o'clock in Bedworth Centre. 1:30 till 3:30 at the Nuneaton Town Hall, we will meet and greet the 30 Signal Regiment and the British Royal Legion. The Nuneaton Memorial Photo Display of the VE Day celebrations will be on display. Performance from the Welsh Song Singers, and World War II soldier will bring things for you to handle from 1945. You can find out about the home front in Nuneaton and Bedworth too. Drawings and pictures celebrating VE Day from 1945 from local schools, and there'll be tea and biscuits. 3:30 till 6 o'clock in Nuneaton town, there will be celebrations where people and businesses will be participation. Also, at Harefield Road in the Nuneaton Town Centre, we will be offering free parking to people that want to come to the town for the whole day.
Thank you. Question number 2 is from Councillor Manucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I ask the portfolio holder for resource and customer services if he is happy with the cost of our external audits? Thank you.
Councillor Hay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not happy. Thank you for your question. I did ask her a question about the audits, or rather the lack of them, at the first council meeting I attended in July last year. And the countrywide shortage of qualified external auditors has undoubtedly caused major problems. And I explained that the situation was not helped by the then Conservative government's abolition of the Audit Commission, which finally closed in 2015. A replacement body was set up to oversee the transition, and this was supposed to save £1 billion in opted-in authoritative external audit costs. Well, that worked out well, because since 2015, the delays in external audits got worse. Now, I am pleased to say that a lot of catching has been done, as you know, from the Audit and Standards Committee. But here's the really annoying part. As I mentioned earlier, this was all supposed to save £1 billion. But what happens when things are in short supply? Prices go up. So the final fee for 2021 was just over £111,000. Final fee for 2021-22 was £128,000. I haven't got the figure yet for 2022-23 because the auditors are still providing certain information. However, knowing that costs were increasing rapidly, the previous Conservative administration put £153,000 into the cost of the 2023-24 external audit. But that was wrong. The actual cost, as reported to the recent Audit and Standards Committee, was £220,000. That's heading on for £250,000. When the auditors were asked at Audit and Standards, but this was because of the extra work, they just replied it was their scale fees. So I'm clearly in the wrong job here. It is not as though the audit was even a complete one. Now remember, this money is taxpayers' money. I'm not against the private sector working it myself, but I am against the asset stripping of local government and putting money from one thing to another without any kind of action we can take against it. I've I've been told there's not much I can do about it, but I'm afraid this won't stop me trying. So not only am I not happy, but to quote the average Daily Mail reader, I am absolutely furious. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask Councillor Shepherd, can you please advise if there are arrangements being made for compost bins of them to be available for those who do not want a green bin and a price? This would provide an excellent solution as an alternative and to give people of the borough an option to create their own compost. Thank you.
Councillor Shepherd. Jill Shepherd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies for not standing. Thank you for your question, Councillor Hughes. We have for a while supported and promoted the County Council scheme for composting bins and will continue to do so. We have reviewed this again this year to ensure it still presents the best value for the residents, and this scheme is still the most cost-effective way to give our residents access to affordable compost bins. The cost of the 240 bin is £18 and an offer at the moment to buy one and get one half price. Composting workshops will be taking place across the borough, the first being on the 16th of April, 10:30 and 12 at Bedworth Library, where residents who take part can get bins at £8. You can book one via our website using Buy Home Composter Composting and it will take you to the appropriate page. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And I can recommend that workshop that the County Council provide. I went to it and qualified for that cheap bid, but it was very interesting about an hour-long session. Next question is from Councillor Hickling.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A lot of work has been undertaken recently at the cemeteries at Attleborough and Box Hill. Please could the portfolio holder provide an update on the work that's been carried out?
Thank you. Councillor Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for your question, Councillor Hickling. Yeah, we've carried out a significant amount of work at both Box Hill and Attleborough cemeteries. As you know, last spring, flooding at both of these cemeteries was extreme and preventing families from visiting their loved ones. I received some really heart-rending emails with residents expressing their distress, and we were determined to rectify the issue. So at Attleborough, most of the water was coming off the railway embankment, and we lobbied Network Rail, who initially wanted to close the case down, but following pressure, they eventually admitted the majority of the flooding was coming from their land and agreed to rectify the situation at their cost. It's been quite some time coming, however, they have been quite busy over the last several weeks. They've carried out extensive drainage work there, they've installed new drainage pipes and a drainage channel in the old ditch alongside the railway embankment. And after camera work, they've carried out camera work assessing all the drainage there. They found some additional work that needs doing underneath the embankment, so that's going to carry on. Hopefully that will reduce the water coming in as well. So that was a big part, that was most of the flooding coming into Attleborough. NBBC are also doing additional survey work on the land drains as well and seeing if they need clearing, if they need connecting, but most of the flooding at Attleborough was coming from Network Rail's embankment. So once all this is done, it's already done a lot to dry out the cemetery. We've been quite lucky this year compared to last year. I mean, last year was horrendous, the amount of rain that we had. We had a really unseasonably dry spring this year. But we're hopeful that once all this work's been completed and the work that's planned and the current investigations, that this should solve the flooding issues at Attleborough. We don't know for certain now, so we'll have to wait for the next heavy rainfall before we find out for definite. Again, Box Hill, loads of flooding last year. The bottom of the cemetery was completely flooded, graves were flooded, it was absolutely awful. Unlike Attleborough, that was down to lack of maintenance of the drainage system, lack of maintenance of the ditches. So the drainage system had been allowed to become blocked over several years. And the drainage ditch alongside the cemetery, there'd been trees felled into that and left in there, which had caused the whole ditch to silt up, and stop the removal of water from the bottom of the cemetery. So early on last year we found some inspection chambers that nobody knew about. So we did some work on them, we jetted all of them, jetted the whole system. That stopped all the flooding from the graves, but the bottom end of the cemetery was still flooding because this ditch was just absolutely full and the water couldn't go anywhere. So we've cleared that ditch out, so the ditch has been completely cleared, so the water can drain back into the brook. And we've also carried out a lot of work because there was water coming in from the brook at the top end of the cemetery, and that was running down, causing all the flooding. So we've built up the banks at the top end as well to stop the water coming in from the brook. So again, hopefully, once all this is done, we've got to jet the whole system once it's finished. We put some new drainage channels in, some new land drains in at the bottom end. So yeah, it's really already, you know, tail end of the year was already a massive difference. But again, hopefully, once all this has been completed, that should be flooding prevented at Box Hill as well. Again, we won't know until we get some rain, but yeah, all being well. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bird.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is regarding HMOs, and it's on behalf of the concerned residents. The noticeable increase in the number of houses of multiple occupation in our communities. While I understand the need for affordable housing options, the rapid rise in HMOs has led to several serious concerns which are likely to impact on our communities in the future, such as the presence of undesirable individuals and groups contributing to unsociable behaviour, the exploitation of vulnerable tenants by unscrupulous landlords who fail to maintain living standards, thus creating squalid and filthy living conditions. Also, potential safeguarding issues. Non-registered persons living in HMOs raising regulatory concerns, suspected cases of benefits fraud linked to certain properties, reports of properties being used as houses of building abuse, damaging the character of our neighbourhoods. These are all valid concerns that residents have raised, and I am informed was a recent subject in the local press. Given these concerns, can the portfolio holder give residents some clarification on what measures are currently in place to regulate and monitor HMOs? Additionally, are there any plans to strengthen enforcement to ensure landlords are properly vetted and are compliant, and these properties are used in a manner that benefits the wider community rather than undermining it? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Watkins.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, when seeing this statement sort of question, I was a bit shocked at some of the accusations in there, really, especially against the people that find themselves living in some of these houses of multiple occupation, and especially when Councillor Bird is on the housing scrutiny panel. So I hope if it's got any of these, if it's got any proof of any of these accusations in here, he has to come through the right channels, because that'd be the way a council should do these things. But to answer some of his questions, before issuing an HMO, inspections are carried out, and the council must be satisfied that the landlord of an HMO is fit and proper person, or an employee and manager who is. Each HMO is suitable for occupation by the number of people allowed under the licence. Overcrowding is eliminated. The standard of management of the HMO is acceptable. Vulnerable tenants are protected. High-risk HMOs can be identified and targeted for improvements such as fire safety. The council can take enforcement action under the Housing Act 2004. The council is required to take appropriate enforcement action for defects found in properties which fall under either the Category 1 duty to take action, or Category 2 may take action. The council may also take action on the management of houses of multiple occupation in England, Regulations 2006, known as the Management Regulations on both licensable and unlicensable HMOs. Council will also work with the HMO landlords to ensure that their properties are compliant with the minimum energy efficient standards when they grant a new tenancy to a new existing tenant. Landlords are obliged to ensure that all residents living in their properties have the right to rent. NBBC have not received any regulatory concerns. In addition to the mandatory licensing conditions, the Council may include further conditions on a licence. These can require improvement to the standards of the HMO and its management. Licensing decisions are subject to appeal through the Residential Property Tribunal. Offences against the licensing requirements may be subject to prosecution. Also, you won't be able to serve Section 21 if a property has not been correctly licensed and the landlord or agent or both could face criminal prosecution and are unlimited fine. This is likely to be changing the introduction of the Renters' Rights Reform Bill. When the Renters Reform Bill comes into effect, hopefully later this year, all landlords will be legally required to register their properties on a national database. This will help us to know the number of HMOs in our borough and most importantly help us target enforcement activity where it is needed the most. Finally, the Council is not in a position to regulate all HMOs as there is no Article 4 direction in place. I can advise that following the adoption of the current local plan review, which is due later in the year, this Council is required to enter into a further local plan review. This further review will undertake an evidence-based review at need of local geographical impact to form a view of the requirement for an Article 4 direction. It should be noted that any identified need must be robustly evidenced in order to withstand planning inspectorate scrutiny. Ultimately, the planning inspectorate must agree that there is a need for an Article 4 direction. That fully explains everything that the Council can do, but if Councillor Bird has got any evidence of what he said in his please thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Sixth question is from Councillor Sue Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is to the portfolio holder for Environment and Public Services. Your cabinet role as portfolio holder includes the waste collections and waste management. It requires you to attend various meetings. One of those is the Warwickshire Waste Partnership. Apart from the first meeting, which is normally in person, they actually changed that to hybrid purely so you could attend, but you didn't. The rest are all Teams meetings. Since you took over the portfolio in May 24, you've only attended one of these meetings, and that was one a few weeks ago. As a previous portfolio holder, it was my responsibility to attend these meetings and assisted in my role. I found the information and the data shared with all parties very helpful. Do you think it's acceptable that you've only attended one meeting in the last 12 months?
Councillor Shepherd? Stuart Shepherd?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No apologies again for that starter. Thank you for the question, Councillor Markham. Unfortunately, I have missed some meetings due to ongoing health issues. Rheumatoid arthritis and this aggressive illness I would not wish on anyone, and hospital visits are numerous and unplanned. A hybrid meeting has never been set up solely for myself, and I can assure Councillor Markham that data and figures are regularly assessed by myself and officers. I am pleased that as a Cabinet member I've been able to do my role with the cause of my colleagues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is from Councillor Condon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2 weeks ago, Coventry Live reported that the council was refurbishing 2 adjacent units on Abbey Street to make one larger unit that would be fitted for a restaurant. Obviously, like most residents, I would love to see the town centre thriving once more, but can't help but feel concerned that money is being spent on projects without solid business cases behind them. This site is right by the new food hall, which will also need tenants. Could the portfolio holder confirm whether there is a firm agreement with a tenant for this property, or is it another speculative development that puts council funds at risk? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Contador. These units on Abbey Street were identified as being the gateway units to the new development, as adding to the leisure and food and beverage offer that needed to be provided. There has been significant local and national interest in both the units provided by the new development, and in the units on Abbey Street we can advise that we are confident in moving to heads of terms on the units by the end of April, pending the necessary due diligence. At this present moment in time, there is nothing secured at this moment.
Okay, thank you. Next one is Councillor Will Martin.
Thank you, Chair. During the last Conservative administration, the money owed to the council in rent arrears reduced to £500,000. How much debt reduced since Labour took control in May 24, and how much has been written off? Also, the number of cases taken to court by the administration for debt recovery and how many are pending. Can I have a total amount of debt owed, including those collected by the agencies? Thank you.
Councillor Watkins, is it you?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is actually not a question for me, it's a question for Councillor Hay.
Okay, Councillor Hay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Markham. Right, so in response to your first question, at the end of the financial year 2023-24, the figure of current tenant arrears stood at £1,382,205.47p. At the end of February 2025, which is the most recent figure we can have, the current tenant arrears figure stood at £1,096,088.82p. So this equates to a reduction in the current rent owed of £286,116.65p in the 11-month period, so I've got a month to run. Figures for March are currently being collated. You asked about write-offs. Write-offs for the period April 2024 to February 2025 were £4,513.91p. Now, about the number of cases taken to court for debt recovery and pendings, between May 2024 and the end of March 2025, 32 cases were taken to court for possession proceedings. As at the end of March 2025, 3 are pending with the courts for possession proceedings. Right, in terms of total debt owed, the current tenant arrears as of February 2025 are £1,096,088.82. Sorry, which I've said before. There were former tenant arrears though going back, and at February 2025 they were £1,350,361.48p. There are no cases placed with collection agencies on this. Okay, but can I just answer a question you haven't asked, right, and put it in context. The total rent roll figure is £27,959,938, so £28 million. For April 2024 to February 2025, we have actually collected 96.44% of the rent available, including arrears. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Markham.
Mr. Mayor, could I please know whether the relevant constitutional provision of the item being referred to the Human Scrutiny Panel for further consideration?
That's acceptable, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Is that seconded? Okay. Does anybody wish to speak on it? Oh, I apologise, it was one that goes straight to the vote. Do we all understand what was being asked to be referred back to scrutiny, yeah? Okay, that seems okay. All those in favour of that, please show. Any against? And any abstentions? I think it was unanimous anyway, but okay, thank you. So that will go back to scrutiny. Which takes us on to question 9, Councillor Dillon.
Hi, evening, Mayor. Question
question from Portfolio Local Leisure and Communities and Health, which is Councillor Jenkins. Yeah. Can you please give me an update on the physical activity hub and how this will improve health outcomes for local residents? Thank you.
Councillor Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Dillon. Yeah, I'm really excited with the progress that's being made with the Bedworth Physical Activity Hub. Been progressing really well. A lot of progress considering we only started in September. And it's really exciting to see how much it changes every time I go down there. So the steelworks are all completely erected. Pools and internal structures are looking like pools and sports halls. So all that's going on. 9x9 all-weather pitch is there. It's huge, way bigger than I thought it was going to be. Work on the outside of the exterior is going on, so that's starting to come up, and then that will all be finished off. It's going to be to reflect sort of the ribbon weaving history of Bedworth, so that should be quite nice. I've got, well, she's hiding at the moment, I've got Councillor Sue Markham and Councillor Tunnicol coming to have a visit with me, because I've missed your questions today, Councillor Markham. So you can tell me all, you can ask me all about hedges when we go and have a walk round. Yeah, really looking forward to it being completed. It's since we started, it's on track, so no major delays. It's all on schedule, so that's good. And it's going to be a really good, fantastic asset for people of Bedworth, the whole borough, wider community. Hopefully we'll get people coming in from Coventry and visiting Bedworth Town Centre as well. I was at Health and Wellbeing Board workshop on last Thursday, and we all know the health inequalities across the county, so I think it's going to be a really fantastic resource. Hopefully people from across the borough will, I hope it encourages them to use it and to become more active, because it's so important for people to be active and to bring down cardiovascular and dementia, COPD, all these diseases that are so associated with inactivity. So yeah, hopefully it's a really good resource. Yeah, thanks for the question.
Thank you. Question 10 is from Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the recent closure of Abbeycraft after some 40 years, could the responsible cabinet member clarify what steps are being taken to allow other independent town centre businesses to survive and to flourish?
Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Wright. As it is well reported that town centres across the country are facing challenges, as consumer habits have changed dramatically. This includes Nuneaton, which is the biggest town in Warwickshire. Therefore, it's important that we deliver to the expectations of the growing population. Locally, we have been proactive, identifying the needs within the towns, securing multi-million-pound deals for our development of in Nuneaton, Grayson Place Phase 1, 2 and 3, Vicarage Street development, Bridge to Live in development, in Bedworth, the Bedworth Activity Hub and the Bedworth Board deal. Although short-term disruption is to be expected, there is significant interest from both independent and national businesses. Therefore, we are increasing local events and improving social media, which providing digital skill training opportunities. Also, there has been investment on the Growth Hub, who support our local businesses. They have been placed in the town hall actually today and will be there once a month for businesses to visit for their help. And today has been very successful for them.
Okay, thank you. We do have one other question, which I think Anne's question 11, but it's an additional member question. I'm assuming all members have been circulated with it? Yeah, that's good then. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to everybody who's involved in allowing this question to go ahead. My question is for the portfolio holder for Environment and Public Services. With government ministers confirming that local authorities are to be compensated for the impact of Labour's bin strike in Birmingham, will this council be putting together a bill for Birmingham City Council in the light of the increase in fly tipping in this borough as a result of Birmingham's lack of waste collections. It's my understanding that surrounding authorities have been asked to provide collection support to Birmingham, and with our limited capacity, will this council be offering such support?
Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The bin strike is not as usually phrased to the Labour bin strike. It is an industrial dispute with United Birmingham City Council. There's been no increase in pricing within this borough. As has other authorities, the council has been approached under the Civil Contingencies Act and has been asked to consider what support it could offer. However, at this time, we will not be providing any assistance or receiving any financial compensation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Which takes us on to item 8 on the agenda, special urgency decisions. And informed and it's printed that there are none of them. Happy to note that. Thank you. Item 9 is the Cabinet report by the leaders of the Council. Councillor Watkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I've sent the Cabinet report as it's written and open to questions.
Okay, thank you. Any member? Councillor Conjure.
Thank you. I've got a few questions. I don't know how you want to take them. I'll rattle them all off. On the Climate Change and Sustainability Action Plan, it says it's been approved for public consultation. I haven't seen anything about when that's going to be starting, so that's some clarification there. Similarly, on page 3, on the HRA business, it says the HRA business plan has been completed and will lay out the future plan for income generation. Again, when will that be shared and will that be going to the OSP, please? I don't know whether you want to answer those and I'll just carry on from there. Again, the corporate plan, delivery plan, it's a shame that it's not very specific. It's rather sort of general, it's not very specific. And I do wonder how things are going to progress is actually going to be measured. In particular, active travel, it's mentioned in the report and things that encourage active travel. But as we've heard from Keith's statement, we're not really pushing forward with proper active travel. A lot of the developments, say they're going to have active travel and things, but don't actually. Easter Away is a case in point, and we need to actually make sure when there are conditions for planning that involve active travel, that they are actually properly funded through the conditions, because we keep getting, oh, but there's not enough money to actually do it, things. My final question is about the devolution debate. Obviously, you've seen the report of current status. Do we know when this will come back to full council for ratification of what's going to be presented to government? Thank you.
Yeah, so slightly all over the place now. So I'll try and start with the last one, the devolution. That's for Cabinet in June, Council in July, and a formal submission in November. The planning, the travel, well, we can keep an eye on that, and that will be in as in planning. The planning. What else did you say?
The HRA business plan, when will that be shared?
The HRA business plan, you got any dates on that, Steve? No, I've got any dates on that, but as soon as possible. And that can be scrutinised. Anything else?
Yeah, just when is the public consultation on the climate change plan being started?
June. middle of May.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
Right, thank you. Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have two questions. Do you want to take them individually or separately? I know it can be a bit confusing as well. Okay. Both of them are to the Leader of the Council anyway. So it's on agenda item 4C, which is about government devolution. As I've said previously at full council, I actually support in principle the idea of two unitaries, the north and the south, but I have reservations given the government's own qualifications for meeting unitary status, which is 500,000 population minimum. Could the Leader of the Council update us, based on any meetings he's had with government ministers, etc., what the chances are, or the likelihood is, of us being able to meet the exception to the 500,000, because I think county authorities everywhere, county versus district, everyone's trying to claim an exception, which I can understand, but at some point the line has to be drawn somewhere. So what indications has the Leader had specifically about the minimum level?
Councillor Watkins?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Watson. I would love to stand here and tell you there's a bad loads of indication, but we haven't. The options are there, or from north or south, so it could be Rugby and North Warwickshire. That's one option, and then the south. But there's still different options there, but there's nothing concrete, so I wouldn't like to say anything at the minute. There's still, obviously, the county are pushing for the whole of the county, and that's still a strong case. I know what you're saying about the different numbers and that, but there's just nothing there until we start to hear back off the government, so I can't give you anything out of the subject.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wilson, your second question.
I thank the Leader of the Council for his answer. I suspected that would be the case, but it's always useful to ask for an update. On the same topic, I'm aware that other councils have set up working parties to look at the issue of local government reorganisation on a cross-party working basis, but as Leader of the Opposition I haven't heard anything. I don't know whether it is his intention to set up a working party, but could I ask the Leader to consider, because there will be a lot of work wherever the decision happens to be from government, that they will set up, that he will look at setting up a cross-party working group under the usual terms of, proportionality, etc. Because whatever the decision is, we need to make sure we get the best outcome for the residents and the need the benefit we can do, and all parties around this chamber have an input into that, because we also represent residents of this borough.
Councillor Watkins.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Wilson. Can you leave that with me and let me discuss that with others when I get back to you? But I know we may be on opposite sides, but I think you will be able to say that I am usually fair. So if you can leave that with me, thank you.
Okay, thank you. In that case, that takes us on to item 10. What's called it right now? Item 10, the annual overview of scrutiny panel reports that are for noting. I will go through them individually and ask the chairs just to present them. So, A, business regeneration, I believe that's Councillor Hickling.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So first I'd like to thank all the councillors and officers who have taken part in the meetings over the last 12 months. I think we've had some good set of meetings. I think we've had quite a lot of detailed questions to officers. I'd particularly like to thank the Vice Chair, Jeff, because I know he's been with the Commission for a while and obviously been very helpful in that role. I'm not going to read through the exact report, which I'm assuming they'll read it themselves, but you can see we've looked at a whole range of different issues over the last 12 months, going from town centre updates to the bid, 106 monies. So yeah, to all the details in the report for people to read as well.
Thank you.
Pass these to make a meeting.
Is that seconded? Okay, that's seconded. Any member? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In reference to the item on the public space protection order, Councillor, obviously as councillors we can't be on every single committee, but we'll have different interests. One of my particular interests has been for years about the PSPO which we introduced 3 years ago about the roadside car sales, and I've noticed that there has been an increase in that recently. I know, having spoken to officers, there is an issue with resourcing, but could the chair give an indication or an undertaking that he will follow that up, because it is of public interest about if we've got these orders in place, we need to make sure that we can actually enforce them too. And I know that the committee will be interested in that, so could he look at keeping that on his horizon? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, certainly. As you can see, we did look at the public space protection orders. I think it was June and the October meeting, we discussed things like the open water spaces and things like that. Yeah, I'm more than happy next to the chair again for the next municipal year to keep that remains up. So yeah, so.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify that, obviously we don't know what the main groups of things will be, but things like that will be passed to the appropriate person. Thank you. I'm sorry, Councillor Box.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a point regarding the town centre update section within the report. Further along, obviously, since you increased the cost of car parking now for 3 hours stay within our towns, how will you be able to monitor the footfall against this over the next, and obviously the use of the market town, etc., please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I was just thinking whether it was actually a question that should have gone to somebody else, but if you're happy to respond, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. From memory from the meeting back in February, we did look at the car parking and also the footfall figures as well. There's some issue about the footfall and how accurate the information was. As you can see from the report, it is something we're going to be looking at regularly. We're looking at changing the way that we do the football so we can have a more accurate reading of how that's taking place. And obviously there's going to be the new parking facilities, the pay facilities as well, so that's going to give more accurate data as well. So again, in future meetings, part of the town centre update, we'll continue to look at the football and the car parking situation.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Condon.
Thank you. It's just a sort of comment, really. The last item about public question and response discussed at council, I actually was the one that asked for that to go to OSP. And to be honest, it was about the health and things, and I did actually expect that to go to the health scrutiny rather than the business regeneration and planning OSP. It says that a briefing note on the situation be requested from the Integrated Care Board and chaired with panel members. When there's quite a crossover like this, so it's a planning condition but then it's the health things, it'd be nice if actually the briefing notes and things were actually shared with both, you know, scrutiny panels, and in fact probably with all councillors, because it is sort of, you can't go to every meeting, things. I do try and keep abreast of the other, what's going on at the other OSPs that I'm not on, but, you know, actually getting a briefing note or the actual response would be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody else? So we're happy to note that, and also the comments that have been made. And I think if there are things that people want to go to scrutiny panels, there's a process for that, isn't there? There needs to be a form that we did. Okay, so that's available to members. Okay, so all those in favour of noting that? Any against? And abstentions? Right, 2 abstentions. Next one is corporate and health. Councillor Dillon?
Hi, good evening again. As chair of this scrutiny panel, I would like to, I've read to page 54, you can see sort of brief summary and overview of what we actually discussed this year. I'd like to say, before I get to move this on, I'd like to thank everybody and all members for attending and also engaging in detail of all the presentations that we've had. Everyone across parties engaged really well. And we've had some good recommendations to make when we go to the new plan for the next weekly meetings, especially on the Youth Council, sort of working group to be formed to discuss further for next year, whoever takes over. If I'm lucky enough, I'd like to carry on, but we'll see. Also, I'd like to thank you to Vice Chair Jamie, he's not here tonight, and I would like to recommend this to be seconded and noted for the future. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded? Yeah. Okay. Any member? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In relation to the Health Watch agenda item, Councillor Dillon, and I've kind of half got a hope that the portfolio holder will listen to this as well, Councillor Jenkins, with a constructive spirit intended. We did mention about trying to, from the OSP, recommend or suggest that the council put out through its communications channels about how residents can get in touch with Health Watch and what it does. Because as we've seen recently, Whitestone Surgery, which I represent and I'm a patient of, I declare an interest. That has recently been in the national news and highlighted by our good friends here in the press locally. But residents suffered for years with substandard health treatment in the borough, myself included, I feel, personally, and members of my family. Even as a local elected representative, we're not always aware of everything that is available because there's a plethora of agencies out there. Could the Chair and hopefully have a nice quiet word with her corresponding cabinet member, look at how we can promote that, because if you don't know where to go to, and people have suffered. That was a 40-odd page length report about the failings of Whitestone Surgery, and it said that there were serious failings there that were life-threatening. I was fortunate that it wasn't life-threatening, but it was still serious and significant to me and my family. I think as servants of the community, we should do what we can to push that out through our channels. I'm hoping that we'll take it in the constructive spirit it's intended.
Okay, thank you. I saw the cabinet member nodding and take that on board, yeah. Make a note of that as well. Councillor Connell.
Thank you. Just slightly concerned, the work programme suggestion form about emergency planning, that was something I put forward, and I put it forward last summer. And it was added to the work. Then it went to the next scrutiny meeting, was agreed, added to the programme. It was due I'm pretty sure at the last meeting it said it would come to the June 25 meeting, i.e. very imminently. And now I see it just says 2025-26 work programme. I think, particularly we had the awful fire in Valeview things. So I really think that emergency planning and all councillors to know exactly what the plan is in case something horrible like that happens in any of our wards, that we really need that to be, brought forward. And I've been asking, quite a while for it and things, and I still haven't had any information other than, oh yes, it'll go to this scrutiny panel. So I think that needs to be, made to come forward rather sooner than just sometime in the next municipal year.
Yeah, okay. Well, June is in the next municipal year.
Yeah, but it just says 25-26 now. It doesn't say June 25 anymore.
Councillor Dillon.
I'll take your comments forward. I agree with you. I'll have a word with Maria and we'll get that one.
Okay, thank you very much. So, all those in favour of noting that report and those comments made? Any against? Any abstentions? That's unanimous, thank you. C is housing and communities. Thank you. That's Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we all know, view and scrutiny panels play a hugely important function within the council, and I've been incredibly honoured to have been chair of the Housing OSP over the last 12 months, which has given me a first-hand insight into the challenges and the pressure to provide emergency accommodation as well as affordable housing to a decent standard to residents of the borough, and the challenges that presents with the amount of pressures that are on the council. I feel that we've made some really good progress through the Housing OSP and some good suggestions onto the work programme. And again, I'd just like to thank all the members and the officers for their hard work and communication and cross-party discussions. So on that, I'd like to move the report as read. Thank you, Chair.
Is that seconded? Yeah, okay, thank you. Any member? No, ooh, Councillor Bird.
Thank you. As the leader quite rightly said earlier on, I am on the Open Scrutiny panel, and as you can see, I've been allocated to the working party on HMOs. Now, my question earlier wasn't in criticism of people that live in HMOs, far from it. My idea is to ensure...
Just hold on one moment. The council speaking, you know, if people want to respond to that, you put your hand up and I will decide whether I let you speak as well. Councillor Bird.
Yeah, my question was based on the council having a robust control on HMOs to safeguard the people that do live in them, not criticising the people that live in them, but to ensure that there's good management, there's no exploitation of residents, and that, you know, they don't turn into places where people are unsafe and being exploited by managers of these places. That was what my question was directed at. So I'll accept the rebuke, but it was unfounded. Thank you.
Okay. I've kind of been a bit lenient there with a question about the scrutiny panel and not about your previous question, Councillor Phillips. Yeah. Councillor Phillips.
There's a bit of a contradiction here, because you use the word undesirables and then disclaim that you meant no offence to people who live there.
Thank you, Councillor Phillips. I just take that as a comment, because this is meant to be about the work programme, the scrutiny panels over the years. Okay, right. So again, it's board noting. It's been moved by Councillor Hughes. Is that seconded? That's seconded. All those in favour of noting the report? Any against? And any abstentions? That's unanimous, thank you. And item number C is item C is the Environment and Leisure Scrutiny Panel. Councillor Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Chair of the Environment and Leisure Scrutiny Panel, which has been an honour to chair, with the help of the great Vice Chair, thank you Martin, and thanks to the officers for their support and everything else like that. As you can see in the report, the issues that we've dealt with in this municipal year, the highlight, certainly for myself and other councillors, was attending the Sherborne waste facility. A truly amazing bit of technology that we as a council are invested in, and as you can see with the rest of the work that's been done, good cross-party support, making sure that these issues, certainly for the environment and leisure for the borough, is being looked after. And this report, I ask to be noted. Thank you.
Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Walsh. And any member? No? In that case, we move. Apologies, Councillor Conley.
I just wanted to pick up on one thing. I mean, it was a really very good site visit to the Sherborne Recycling Centre. I only sort of knew about it because something that Councillor Shepherd had mentioned in a previous council meeting. I think these things should be open to all it was only sort of initially invited people who were on the OSP, but obviously you don't know from one year to the next whether you'll be on different OSPs and things. So when we do have visits like to the recycling centre again, I think it should be, you know, not just invite the people on the panel all the time, invite everyone to go and things. And one of the things that came out of that visit was the need for education. I mean, even, you know, I consider I know quite a lot about waste and composting and recycling and all that sort of thing. But there was a lot of stuff that, how they want the materials presented and what have you, that really is relevant to all councillors, not just those on the OSP. So can we sort of have a bit more spreading of information, not just those small people, you know, group of people who are on an OSP.
Yeah, very good point, Councillor. I thought I'd missed the email. Now I know why. Okay, thank you. It's a really good point. Could we take that on board, please? Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Dillon.
I'm not sure, but I'm not on the committee, but I got invited. I think Jack got invited.
You must be special.
I must be special. I couldn't go either, but I thought I was invited.
Okay, let's not.
I don't know why.
We'll ask officers if we can perhaps facilitate another one in the next municipal year. Okay? Thank you. I can't remember if I took a vote on it or not now. I didn't, did I? So it's been moved and seconded that we note that report. All those in favour of that? And against? And abstentions? That's clearly carried. Thank you. Which then takes us on to recommendations from Cabinet or other committees. Cabinet 2nd of April. Who's moving next? Councillor Shepherd, I seem to have your name down for this.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies if I understand it. Whilst moving the report, I am disappointed with the consultation because we don't feel we could have done any more than we did. We did a lot of social media, a lot of leaflets and posters, etc. The themes that were consulted on were place and prosperity, housing, health, communities, green spaces and environment and rural capital. I move the recommendation printed on page 63 and 64 on the agenda with the following addition that was approved to Cabinet on the 2nd of April at 2.8. At 3.5 of the report, the section number be amended to 12.2 of the report. It says 11.2 in the report, there's no 11.2, it's 12.2. And to amend the recommendation at 2.3 as follows. The delivery plan be reviewed annually and issued back to Cabinet annually for approval of the delegated authority to directors and chief executives to make minor amendments to the delivery plan in consultation with the leader. I'll move the report from there.
Okay, so just so that we're clear and I've got it right, the amendment that you're suggesting is, if we look at our recommendations on page 59, which is 2.2, yeah?
So the recommendations are on page 63 and 64.
No, onward.
No. 63 and 64 is before.
Decision. Sorry about this, just give me a moment, please. I need to get this.
Mr. Mayor, if it's helpful, it's also on page 63 and 64. You can read the
Right, sorry, first of all, there was a recommendation agreed at the Cabinet on the 2nd of April at 2.8, at 3.5 of the report be amended to 12.2 of the report. So that's just a technicality on Sandy. And to add the following amendment to the recommendation. Right, there's a little bit of confusion here. I'm going to, right, on this piece of paper I've just been handling, it mentions 2.3. My understanding was it was 2.2. And if I've got it correctly, and you'll tell me if I've misheard you or got it wrong, Councillor Shepherd, at 2.2, the amendment would be, and I'll read it, it's as it says to start with, and then the delivery plan at Appendix B be reviewed annually and issued back to Cabinet, removing at least, so be reviewed annually and issued back to Cabinet annually for approval, and that it be delegated to the Chief Executive and the Leader of the Council for any minor amendments. This one that's down as 2.3, I think should be 2.2, shouldn't it? Okay, right, so I'll read this for accuracy. The delivery plan be reviewed annually and issued back to Cabinet annually for approval, and for delegated authority be granted to the Chief Executive to make for minor amendments to the delivery plan in consultation with the Leader. Everybody understand that? I've finally got my head around it now. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded, that amendment, to include that amendment, yeah? Everybody happy with that? Anybody wish to speak on it? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Initially, when upon first reading it, I was generally okay with the change. A lot of it is stuff you couldn't necessarily disagree with. It's a matter of style and how you present things. But I do have some severe reservations upon reading into the detail. So, firstly, I'm pleased to see that a number of the policies that my administration put in place are continuing, such as the refurbishments to Attleborough Rec, Sorrel Road Rec, Marlborough Road Rec, the Physical Activity Hub, the Market, Bedford Market upgrades, Grayson Place, Vicarage Street, and strengthening the antisocial behaviour team and the housing team. But when I look at the detail, which is in the strategic delivery plan, there are some serious omissions in there which give me significant pause for thought. So, aside from the fact it's really small to read, and I know that myself and Councillor Shepherd over the years have really been bugged about that because it's difficult to try and read. It's silent on planning policy. I cannot see any reference in there to the local plan review, the incoming changes from the proposed legislation regarding planning reform, what that's going to mean for this borough, what that means in terms of the housing numbers, the dramatic increase in our housing numbers. Now, I accept that we need additional housing because we are a growing population, but it seems that areas such as Nuneaton and Bedworth, when you look at the modelling, of additional housing numbers has been treated unfairly compared to urban city areas. And I think that's grossly unfair, and we should be looking as a council at how that impacts on our residents. I think that is a significant thing that residents want to see us addressing as part of a corporate plan. It's absent, completely absent. Not only referencing the fact that we've got the borough plan review going through at the moment, which I hope, and I think everyone would agree that we hope it's in place by June, July time. We know we're going to have to go into a new review because of the upcoming changes. This report, this corporate plan is silent on that. The fact that also, when you look at your council, we know that local government reform is on the agenda. Whether we like it or not, it's happening. At what point, we don't know. They're saying that our area should be tranche 2 by 2028, which is within the lifetime of this corporate plan. So surely, under your council part of this, however you want to word it, there should be a reference in there to responding to local government reform in the interests of the residents of Nuneaton and Bedworth. And then that becomes part of the corporate plan and the strategic delivery plan. Because we have to face it, whether we like it or not. I agree with the leader of the council. As I've said numerous times, I don't like it, I don't want to do it, but it's being forced on us. Surely that should be in here. So I would ask for the Cabinet members to defer this item to include those significant issues which face our borough, to incorporate them in there so that we can make sure that it is on the radar, it's part of the corporate policy and strategic delivery plan for these issues which residents are quite rightly concerned about. And there are other things in there that I do have issue with. So continuing to refer to Grayson Place as Abbey Street. I think tonight is the first time I've actually heard a Cabinet member, Councillor King, refer to the site as Grayson Place. In almost a year, that's the first time I've heard it referred to as Grayson Place. Yet in this same report, it talks about our heritage and celebrating what we have to offer, such as George Eliot. That was the whole point behind Mary Grayson and Grayson Place. Can we please call it what it is, Grayson Place, and be proud of our heritage and what we have to offer? So again, I think that should be amended within this report. And also, I do take slight issue with civic pride in here. That's something we took great initiatives about when we were in control. But this year, the Civic Honours Subcommittee was cancelled. There was no discussion about civic honours, whether we thought there was anyone worthy of being an honorary alderman or the number of people that we've put forward. Great members of our community who are now freemen and free women of Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough. It may be one of the few opportunities we get left to actually give someone an honorary position, an honorary honour from Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council, and we have ignored it this year. No communications whatsoever. So the meeting in October was cancelled, which meant we couldn't have a meeting in January to consider worthy recipients. And I'm sure we all know of people. We put people forward in control, and Councillor Shepherd, when you were in opposition, you put forward a very worthy recipient, and we took it on board, and they went through. And she's a great addition to the plethora of honorary citizens of this borough, and she attends lots of the civic events and adds a lot to our civic society. So please defer this and make it more robust for the residents. Thank you.
Any other member? No? If not? Councillor Croft.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'll try not to be too long with it. As Councillor Wilson has alluded to, I can't be too critical of the entire document because, as he says, there's a great deal of continuity between the previous plans, and this needed to happen anyway. But the previous plans in 2021, I believe, so there's been a great deal of change since then. It needed updating. My problem with it, my critique of it, is that it recreates a lot of the issues that we should change in the previous plan and plans before that, which is that it can be, with the exception of the policy area emissions that we alluded to, it can be very high level, it's very motherhood and apple pie in places, and there is a danger that if we take that approach, I know it's a high level corporate document, but if we take that approach, we just begin to cover the BAU, for business as usual. So in the implementation plan, in the back of the document, I would urge the Cabinet to think more about more specific outcomes and deliverables from it. So, for example, on the housing strategy, it talks about building X number of houses at Bellevue. That's really good. That's a real deliverable, that's measurable that we can come back and discuss. but it also has, for example, under the support the need bid, it has the measure is attending a number of meetings. Now, we should be attending meetings, but that's not really an outcome. That's a process. That's confusing activity and achievement. So I encourage the Cabinet, it will have different emphases to what we did because the Labour Party take control of the Council, to look again at the implementation document in the back and come back with things that are going to be real, measurable, targeted improvements in the life of the borough. So that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Watkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to vote it through, but obviously with the criticism of just that. And we're taking no lessons really off the group opposite, especially with the mess that we came into. So it is nice to have all the niceties that they've done. And if we'd had time, we certainly would have looked at them again, but we had more important things to look at, especially considering all the lack of maintenance of everything that was done and all the emergency decisions that we had to take because there was none done by the previous administration. So I'll be voting for it as it is. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. In which case, we'll move to the vote on it. As it in item.
Can I record your vote, please, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, which sit down. Yeah, thanks for the
I'll speak clearly. I'll now move to recorded vote. Please indicate whether you're for, against or abstaining. Councillor Amici. For. Councillor Etienne.
Against.
Councillor Bird.
Against.
Councillor Bonner.
For.
Councillor Brown.
Against.
Councillor Clark.
Against.
Councillor Cooper.
Against.
Councillor Croft.
Against.
Councillor Chekovich. Against. Councillor Dillon.
For.
Councillor Hancock.
For.
Councillor Hartshorn. Councillor Hay.
For.
Councillor Hickling.
For.
Councillor Hughes.
For.
Councillor Jenkins.
For.
Councillor King.
For.
Councillor Conacher.
Abstain.
Councillor S. Markham.
Against.
Councillor Dewey Markham.
Against.
Councillor Phillips.
For.
Councillor Price.
For.
Councillor Rose.
For.
Councillor Saru.
For.
Councillor J. Shepherd. Councillor T. Shepherd. Councillor C. Smith.
For.
Councillor R. Smith.
Against.
Councillor Benson.
For.
Councillor Walsh.
Against.
Councillor Watkins.
For.
Councillor Wilson.
Against.
Councillor Wright.
Abstain.
Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much. I believe that was the last item on the agenda. Yeah. Double check everybody, make sure I'm right. In which case, can I thank everybody for their attendance and wish you a safe journey home. Thank you.